Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Eric Dorsey. I am the AVP for North America at IMS People Possible, and I am thrilled to be here with the National Association of Travel Healthcare Organizations. IMS People Possible is a NATHO member, so thank you to Holly and the team over there for partnering with us on this webinar. A little bit about me. I am a registered nurse. I've been in the healthcare staffing business for close to 15 years now. I've also been a former entrepreneur of my own healthcare staffing company, which I started in 2018 and sold in 2020. Was also the chief nursing officer of a nationwide healthcare staffing company throughout the pandemic. I'm joined here today by two of my fantastic colleagues, James Heil and Sagar Jamin. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. So yeah, James Heil here. I am focused on the healthcare segment for IMS People Possible. I've been in the healthcare industry since 2001, primarily on the locum tenens side. I do have some experience with perm placement as well as allied health, but the majority of my time has been in the locums. And so partner with Eric to be able to help clients who are looking to implement offshoring, as it's something that I did when I was on the staff on the staffing side for many years. So excited to be here.
Yep. Hello everyone. So I'm Sagar. So I have been into the recruitment industry for 12 years now, and for past 3 to 4 years I'm supporting the healthcare space. Particularly, I work into credentialing and recruiting as well for locum and nurses, both type of businesses. I currently oversee operations for teams that handle large-scale credentialing and compliance processes. So I'll be sharing some of the insight from the operations side today on the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar. We're all excited to share some critical insights on a topic that sits at the core of your business, managing volume credentialing and compliance with absolute accuracy. So before we begin, thank you again to NATHO for this opportunity. We're honored to be presenting to such a distinguished group of travel healthcare leaders like yourselves. We have a lot to cover today, so if you would, show the agenda here. You can move forward to that next slide for me. If you have any questions throughout our presentation today, be sure to use the Q&A feature to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we'll do our best to address them during the presentation or at the end of the presentation. So let's start with a snapshot of where the healthcare market is in 2025. The data here is from SIA, and it provides a clear picture of the landscape that you're navigating every day. We're seeing that the travel nurse segment growth forecast remains stable, which is great news for all of us. However, this stability does bring increased competition and pressure to perform. So when we look at the use of AI, it's clear the industry is embracing it, but there's a big gap. While 57% of AI use is in marketing, only a fraction, 14%, is being used in recruitment. This tells us that there's a huge opportunity for optimization, especially around platforms that enable credentialing, scheduling, and automation. The data here also shows a strong trend in MSPs still dominating travel nurse revenue, reinforcing the need for firms to be highly efficient and competitive to win those partnerships. And finally, the top recruitment challenges remain constant. High competition, and most critically, credentialing speed. It's the single biggest bottleneck to deploying talent, and it's what we're going to focus on today. Move ahead to slide 3 for me, please. Thank you. So challenges in volume credentialing. That first challenge being multi-state licensing. So why is credentialing speed such a challenge? It's because of these main issues that we think plague the industry. And these challenges aren't going away. In fact, as the market stabilizes, efficiency and accuracy will be the key differentiators for success. So multi-state licensing, it's the patchwork of licensing requirements across different states is a logistical nightmare. Each state has its own set of rules, documentation, and renewal timelines, which makes managing a large pool of traveling professionals incredibly complex and time-consuming. Sagar, you want to talk about inaccurate documents?
I will,
Sure.
Eric. I've
Oh,
got
I'm
some
sorry,
information on
James.
that. Yeah,
Go for
no,
it.
you're
Yep.
good. So this was one of the things that we definitely utilized when I was on the staffing side, because whether it's a on purpose and or made a mistake or just didn't have the document, we get documents all the time into our agencies that aren't the right documents. They're outdated, or they're about to expire. And so making sure that you have got a team that is able to review those documents, ensure that they're the exact ones that the facilities are looking for, is extremely important. But it's also can be mundane tasks. And, that's one of those tasks that you'll see throughout this presentation that, when you bring an offshore team on, they're able to help with those, because they can match those documents up, make sure that they're exactly what the facility is looking for, so that when you do submit that completed packet to the hospital, it is complete. The documents are active, and they're accurate. Sagar, I'll let you take the next one.
Yep. Rightly said, James. And the next point is, unavailability and missed renewable. So one of the biggest challenges or headaches, I would say, I see personally when I manage the credentialing workflow, and I'm talking about, when we are working at a scale, is just to keeping up with all the different licenses and certifications there. With so many nurses coming and going, it's, very easy to have a renewal date slip by, especially when everyone is on a different schedule. Just one missed license and suddenly you have got a nurse who can't work their shift, and then you are scrambling to find a replacement. So if you are relying, and I have seen it, people are or companies are still relying on spreadsheets, or some are also on sticky notes, the all these kinds of risk goes up. So this is something a very crucial part which we'll cover in coming slides, that what are the solutions and how to take over this particular. Next one is the compliance framework. So in compliance, there are challenges. Compliance is something that is a never-ending game of staying the compliant. Every state and sometimes every facility has its own rules, and they are always updating something. It's a lot to manage. And if you miss one update, you can find yourself out of compliance before even you realize it. So that also means, extra paperwork, a lot of back and forth, and we see it all the time. And sometimes nobody likes it, but sometimes you got some fines as well there. So that is also a critical piece into the volume credentialing, that how you be compliant there. So we'll cover in coming slide that how to be compliant.
Thank you, Sagar. So strategies to overcome high credentialing and compliance challenges at scale. We think a first strategy can be centralizing your credentialing and compliance processes. So instead of having individual recruiters responsible for their own credentialing, I think centralizing the function under a single team ensures consistency, accountability, and the development of specialized expertise. I think this is something that we thrive at with our offshore teams. Of course, we are an offshore company. Sagar and his team focus on this daily with healthcare staffing clients. Sagar, do you want to talk about leveraging offshore centers?
Certainly, Eric. So first of all, the one powerful way, and as we were talking about on our previous slide about how to handle the big volume and how to be compliant, one powerful way to keep the things moving when you are, got a mountain of credentialing files there, is to leverage offshore centers. For example, like if your primary team is overwhelmed, or you are, up against a tight onboarding deadline, an offshore team in a different time zone can pick up right where your day team leaves off. So, when your team is working and whatever is pending, the team which is working in offshore, they can pick right where you left off. And when you come back tomorrow, you can see that the work is done. So I've seen companies, hire nurses on Friday afternoon, send the onboarding document overseas, and have everything verified and ready before Monday morning. So no more backlogs, just round the clock progress. That is some one area where you can leverage the offshore centers. But there are a couple of other points where you can utilize these things to even robust your onshore team as well. One is the robust verification protocol. So strong verification protocols, are the backbone of accurate credentialing. It's more than ticking just the boxes. Your processes should demand that every license is checked directly with state boards, employment and education is verified with original institutions, and sanctions database cross-checked. For instance, automating reminders for expiring licenses or building a checklist that gets digitally signed at every stage, it helps you eliminate missteps and ensure every file is audit ready and at a moment's notice. So you can always be compliant there. Another critical part is access to trained professionals. So credentialing is not something just a simple back office work, I would say. It is a specialist skill. Whether your team is onshore or offshore, you want people who know what red flags to look for, like irregular work histories, lapse certifications, or inconsistencies in job records. Some company regularly upskill their credentialing team, and that is a very important piece. You have to keep on upskilling your existing team there, or you can bring in experienced professional during peak volume periods. This not only cuts down on costly errors, but also makes sure that the onboarding process is faster, less stressful for everyone who is involved into the process. Another part which I love about offshore is the cost efficiency. So, the balancing the speed and accuracy doesn't have to blow your budget. So when you are working at volume, you can streamline your workflow by using the automation, using the offshore team, and, by doing the repetitive checks by the automation, and focus your skill staff on the more complex cases. You can control these costs without sacrificing the quality too. For example, like sending the bulk background check to a partner or using a tech to instantly flag missing docs. It allows you to handle twice as many files with the same team size. So you see that how you use the tech as well as the offshore team give you so much leverage on the costing part as well. And of course, at the end, as we were earlier mentioning, the out of hour support. So, things doesn't always happen from 9 to 5. Nurses might accept offers late in the day, or, a last minute client request could need urgent credentialing verified outside your normal working hours. Having staff either on a staggered local schedule or globally distributed means there are always someone available for those critical after hour checks. It's a difference, between a nurse walking onto the floor ready to go and client waiting an extra day. And just a postscript, we as a company and many other offshore providers too provide 24/7 support to their onshore customers. So whether it is a late deadline for Monday, whether it is a Sunday, someone is already available or always available to, to do the credentialing and compliance check.
Thank you, Sagar.
Yep.
Of course, the use of offshore allows you to leverage us not just for credentialing, but across your entire operational spectrum. So from database building and sourcing, we can provide a number of services to help support your team, whether that be through recruiting operations or back office admin support. James, did you want to discuss any of the listed items here?
Yeah, I just think when you think about some of the tasks that we really excel at in ways that I know I've found in the past to be able to utilize offshore, it's those mundane, reciprocal tasks, the timesheet processing, calling the providers, making sure we get those in. I'm not sure what everyone's, timesheet deadlines are, but we had a noon Monday deadline. And so in order to get all those, our recruiters would be working on Sunday sometimes, or they didn't, and then they missed the provider missed the deadline, and then they didn't get paid till a week later. Having an offshore team, scheduled to work Saturday, Sunday to collect those timesheets will help that to ensure that your, timesheets are done by noon or whatever your, timelines are. It just helps your entire process, not just your credentialing, which is, obviously our main focus here, but a lot of different areas that you can utilize offshore to help your team that's onshore.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention too, when you partner with a third party, like an offshore company, you need to make sure that they are committed to accuracy and not just speed. So I think including them as a extension of your team is important to mention. They're not just it shouldn't be a transactional relationship. It should be a relationship where you're working together to make sure you're successful.
100%.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. Sagar, would you like to talk about best practices for accuracy at scale?
Sure, Eric. So I would like to share a couple of best practices, which we use in credentialing when we are working with volume with companies which are, one of the top travel nursing companies and providing and working with lakhs of nurses. I would say like, more than 100,000 nurses they have in their kitty and they are working. How do we manage it for them? And I think this is the practice which each company, regardless of your volume, can use it. And it is really important and, very important for the teams to work in that way. I like to call it, the silo approach, or I would say my team, which I have named is Smart Silos, which is specialized, modular, agile, responsive teams, Smart Silos. So, when you are credentialing high volume of nurses, especially in travel healthcare, trying to have one person manage everything, license checks, background verifications, education, employment history, it just doesn't work. I've seen many companies, that one person is just taking care of one single clinician or one single file. That makes, things bit chaotic for them. The most effective approach, which I have seen, is to divide the work into specialized teams or silos. Each team focuses on one key part of the credentialing process, and that makes a huge difference in speed, accuracy, and accountability. For example, one team might just focus on license verification, making sure all the credentials are active and valid. Another team is just handling the sanction and database checks like OIG, SAM, NPDB, essential, making sure there are no red flags over there. Then you have got a group that focuses on employment and education verification, checking school records, past employer, that kind of stuff. And another team works on background checks and gathering references. These tiered credentialing teams are backed by 24/7 offshore support. So work keeps moving even outside US business hours too. And we also do weekly compliance audits to make sure everything stays clean and audit ready. So have you seen that, like, if one person is just taking care of one single file and trying to, hover between the sanctions as well, background checks as well, employment verifications, here different teams are taking care of just different teams. And to keep all this coordinated, there is a single point of contact who oversees the whole process, troubleshoot any issues if comes in, and ensures nothing slips through the cracks. This single point of contact sits in the US at the client side, who manages the entire offshore team. So this person is just clearly taking an aerial view of the how the process is going in. Now, why does this work so well? First of all, each team member is an expert in their own piece of the puzzle, so that reduces the error and speed the things up. They know what they are doing day in and day out, so there is a very limited room to do any kind of error. Second, since all the work is happening in parallel, nothing gets held up waiting for one bottleneck. If one person is stopped at the employment verification, it doesn't mean that the file won't move forward. The other people are taking care of the other checks. So third, there is a clear ownership. Everyone knows, as I said earlier, what they are responsible for. Again, zero error. And finally, it scales beautifully whether you are onboarding 10 nurses or 100. This model always holds up. Even during peak demands periods or crisis situation, you can add up or reduce the people, scale up, scale down. You just know that in which particular silo you need to add more people. So, this process works really well, really beautifully. So in a space, where US healthcare, which is again a complex thing, especially travel nursing, this particular structure, silo approach with strong central coordination, which really helps the organization stay fast, compliant, and scalable. So I think if any of the company or whomsoever is listening to us, if you'll apply this silo approach, even in your existing team, whether it is onshore or you have an offshore team, this will really give you better results there and will always keep you audit ready. That would be my piece, Eric.
Thank you, Sagar. I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah.
So, of course, none of this would be possible without the right technology. IMS uses a number of different types of technology, both AI and otherwise, and we are agnostic towards specific types of technology. So we kind of use many. But we do leverage a suite of tools, some of which we have developed ourselves. Just this month, our company has released 8 different AI tools that are available for our resources to support our customer and client base. Some of the top tools listed by SIA for credentialing would be Simpler, Blue Sky, and Labor Edge. For scheduling, Aviante and Ubea. Automation and CRM, of course, Bullhorn and CPAL. Some AI tools are used for that resume screening, being HireVue and Paradox, two of the top two. So they help you to quickly identify who the most qualified candidates are and match those to the job recs that you have posted. Sagar, would you like to talk about the next tool mentioned here?
Sure, Eric. So, as you know, one of the biggest shift everyone we have seen in 2025 is how AI is helping. While it is helping in recruiting, it is also helping in credentialing teams. Cut down the manual work and speed up the processing there, especially as areas like form filling, candidate support, and document verification. One of the most fascinating, or the area which I like, is automated form filling and chatbot. So just to give example, like take something like immunization records. So these are often scanned documents or PDFs which we get from the nurses. They upload it. So with the help of OCR. So OCR is optical character recognition tool, and the tool like NLP. There are tool which is, if I need to name, there is a tool called Hypatos. So with the help of tools like this, AI can read these documents, extract key data points like vaccine name, dates, batch numbers, and automatically populate this into the credentialing forms or into your ETS. So instead of someone manually entering that data, looking at the entire immunization form, and it can just directly put everything into the checklist instead. So it's done in the seconds. You don't need a person to look at that immunization record for 5-7 minutes. It's done in seconds. Or not only it does reduce the errors, but it also improves the turnaround time as well. So this is one part. Then there is another part, which is the chatbots. So what chatbots are doing? So now just imagine, let's pair this with the AI powered chatbots. Like, there are tools like Intercom or Drift. So these bots can answer the FAQs like what documents are still pending or how do I update the license. If a nurse asks these questions, the chatbot can even, respond, but they can also guide the clinician step by step through the onboarding or the compliance process. So this is, really amazing. It gives your clinicians a smoother experience. And, your existing team, they are free from answering the same queries again and again, that how do I update the license? How do I update my BLS card? So all this is being taken care by these AI chatbots. They are really amazing. Another important tool, which, and this is specifically being used into the credentialing part, is a document verification. So there are AI-based document verification tools like Verif and Onfido. These are just to name. These two tools can automatically verify government-issued IDs, professional licenses, certifications, check whether they are real, current, and consistent across what's already submitted. So they can check whether it's a real certification or it's a fake one. So these tools work really amazing. Some teams are, now using custom AI models to run backend compliance audits, to flagging things like, expired BLS card or missing immunization proofs long before the delay onboarding. So AI works in the backend and take care of all the ongoing compliance too. So, whether it's about pulling the accurate data from immunization record or guiding the clinician in real time or verifying your documents, AI is helping everywhere into the credentialing. But having said that, I would, just like to say that AI may handle the heavy lifting part for you, but it's the human touch that brings meaning to the process. Empathy can't be automated. Trust is not built by the algorithms, and relationships aren't coded in the lines or script. So at the heart of every credential or every clinician, it's still the people who make the difference. So what the smartest organization in 2025 are doing right now, they know this really well. What they are doing, they are not just using AI, they are combining it with the cost efficient teams and the offshore support. So while automation clears the clutter, offshore credentialing teams deliver scale and speed, allowing their on-site team to focus on what truly drives the impact, recruiting, connecting, and growing the business, making a connection with the clinicians for the long-term delivery. So let's combine the AI with human touch, and we can see that what wonder AI is making into the business.
I did see a question popped up while we were talking there, asking if these AI tools will be sent out after this call. We will share the presentation with all the attendees on this call afterwards. And I know a lot of those AI tools are mentioned in the notes for this slide. So you can also reach out to James or Sagar and I afterwards, and we can discuss some of the tools that have been mentioned.
Certainly. There are lot of tools available.
Yeah.
So one of the
James.
things we wanted to let you all know is we've come up with a checklist. You know, not all companies are created equal. I've had the opportunity to work with several different offshore companies when I was on the agency side. And so we came up with this checklist that you can scan here, or Eric and I can send it out to you if you like, if you have any issues. But it just helps you to be able to understand who you're working, you know, with. What type of experience do they have? You know, here at IMS, we've got almost 20 years of experience. So we've been there, done that. We've gone through some growing pains. We understand, you know, what clients are looking for. We've got obviously an onshore presence with Eric and I. We've both been in the business. We understand, you know, what you're dealing with. And so, you know, does the offshore company that you're looking at have that experience? And so that checklist to help you with that. Compliance with legal and regulatory standards. You know, is your agency that you're looking at using compliant with everything? Do they have all of those set up, you know, so that your documents are safe? Definitely something you want to pay attention to. Technical infrastructure, you know, are you going to have to utilize their tools? Can they utilize your tools? What does that look like? You know, will your, you know, IT teams be able to talk back and forth? A crucial you know, step to being able to make things work right. You know, are you going to have to get all of your documents over in an Excel file, or can they be automatically put into your CRM? Things that you want to look out for and ensure that it's going to be done to be able to save you time. Otherwise, we're just causing more, you know, work on your team if we're not able to do those automations. And then scalability. You know, what does your contract look like? What does the offshore company do? You know, when it's time to scale up and or scale down. I mean, fact of the matter is, we saw during COVID, there was a time to scale up. And then when COVID was coming out, it was a time to scale down. So can your agency do that? You know, we've got over 2,750 resources, you know, either working right now and or going through training on bench to be able to provide support. You know, what type of support can that agency that you're looking at give you? Is it going to be hard? You know, we've got 3 different delivery centers. Not every offshore company has multiple delivery centers. Some are just from one country. We've got 2 different countries, not only there in India, obviously, but over in the Philippines. And so those 3 delivery centers ensure that we always have someone available to work and be able to pick up to get things done. And so, you know, the final thing that I'll say on this is, you know, are they currently, or do they have the experience with the top staffing agencies, you know, out there? I know currently we're working with at least 2, if not more, of the top 10 healthcare staffing agencies in the U.S. You know, so does the company you're looking at have that experience? Just things to look out for to make sure that you're onboarding correctly, because we're not all created equal, I promise, unfortunately.
Thank you, James. And if that QR code is not working for you, I did see that the link is shared in the chat, so you may click on that as well. Okay, so I want to close with a real-world example of how these strategies come to life. As James mentioned, we've partnered with a number of large healthcare staffing firms within the U.S. to help them manage their high-volume compliance needs. Here shows some of the results that were truly impactful. Over the course of a year, we helped one company achieve over 81,000 compliance milestones with 100% accuracy. Most telling metric, however, was their reduction in expired documents. We helped them reduce expired documents by 71.9%, bringing the number down from 292 to just 82 in a year. And we all know that's a big part of the compliance process, you know, making sure that your workers are ready to work when a job opens up, and they have to have current compliance in order to do so. So the level of accuracy and efficiency had a huge impact on their business, leading to the successful placement of 1,100 compliant professionals and the booking of 21,000 shifts. So that is the power of a strategic offshore partnership in action. Okay, onto that next slide for me. So thank you all for your time and attention. I hope this has helped provide a clear roadmap of how you can scale your credentialing operations effectively. We'd love to take any more questions that you may have. Another thank you, of course, to NATHO. We have been in the NATHO member spotlight within the past month, and I believe information will be shared about that so you can learn more about our business. Oh, a link was just shared in our chat, so you can click on that to read more about IMS and the support that we provide to the clients that we work with. I will now take any questions that any of you have from the audience. Please type those in the chat. And if you do not have any questions, I guess that means that we covered everything and answered all of your questions perfectly already. That's okay. If questions come to you later, I do see that my email address as well as James' email address is listed on the screen, and you can reach out to us. Give another couple seconds for questions, see if those pop up. We know that managing credentialing and compliance is a complex challenge, but it doesn't have to be a bottleneck for your company. So with the right strategy and the right partner, know that you can turn it into a competitive advantage. So if you want to dive deeper into how IMS can support you or this kind of solution for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to James or myself. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again to NATHO.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.